Triangles. I love them. They are better than circles and more fun to be with than squares. In this video, using 3 photos, I'll show you how triangles can help you create stronger compositions in street photography. Let's jump right in. With this image, if I had stopped after the first shot, I wouldn't have decided to walk down the street a little bit further, turn round, and captured this one. And I think it's the stronger of the two. This is exactly why I've said it many times on my channel, you should always keep shooting. So why does this shot work? Well, the lighting is near perfect, subtle highlights on the chef's face and clothing add texture and depth. Shifting my position improved this composition. It let me capture light and shadows reflected off this railing, which, as you can see, created beautiful shadows on the ground. The chef's body language feels natural. He's on his phone. He's also smoking a cigarette, and so looks like he's completely lost in his own world. There's unexpected storytelling. The customer in the window was a happy accident, adding another storytelling contextual moment to this scene. The red post on the left balances the composition. It mirrors the red tones of the wall of the facade of that restaurant on the right, creating some subtle colour harmony. And it also works as a foreground object, adding a layering element which creates depth, making the image look 3-dimensional. And finally, there are triangles in this shot. So how do triangles strengthen this composition? For those of you who don't know, triangles are one of the most effective ways to create structure and flow in an image. Unlike static horizontal or vertical lines, their angular shape naturally leads the viewer's eye through the frame. They also help tie different elements of the scene together, such as subjects and objects, making everything feel more connected. I pulled a couple of these shots from my blog to show you how triangles can work in both obvious ways and in more subtle, implicit compositions. So how do triangles strengthen this composition? In this shot, 2 different triangles help tie everything together. The chef, the red post, and the plant create a triangle that helps balance the frame and guide your eye naturally through the image. The red post in the foreground adds depth, while the chef and the plant anchor the background, preventing the image from feeling empty. But what makes this triangle even more interesting is the subtle tension between its 3 elements: man, nature, and a man-made object. They're all visually connected, creating a contrast of elements that makes the image more engaging. Even though this is a looser triangle composition, there is also a subtle connection between the red post, the chef, and the customer in the window. It's not as obvious as the first triangle, but when you look at the post, your eye naturally drifts to the customer in the window behind it, creating a quiet visual link that also adds depth. This triangle subtly ties the chef and the customer together, reinforcing their relationship within the scene without making it too obvious. This next image isn't from Soho, but it's such a strong example of a triangle in composition that I had to include it for you. The 3 subjects, the man with the stroller, the vendor, and the woman with the baby, form a clear triangular structure that ties the whole image together. At the top of the triangle, the vendor becomes the natural focal point, which makes sense because he's the most visually dominant subject. His fed-up expression connects perfectly with the 2 shoppers at the other points of the triangle, reinforcing the storytelling impression of a busy market. But beyond the structure, the triangle adds a sense of energy and dynamic tension to this image. The diagonal lines created by the positioning of the subjects naturally lead the eye through the frame. The vendor stuck at the top of the triangle almost feels trapped between the two shoppers, which amplifies the feeling of a hectic environment. This subtle tension between the subjects, not interacting yet all visually connected, adds an unspoken story to the image, making it more compelling. If you're enjoying this so far and getting something out of it, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and sign up for my new newsletter to get 10% off my presets. I'd love to have you along for more photography discussions. Thank you very much. All right, let's get back to the final image. With this image, what caught my eye first was the worker in the yellow tabard. But then I noticed that guy wedged between the cart and the brush, looking like he's rolling a cigarette. So how did this shot happen? I ran over to grab the shot, and only when I got home did I notice the grumpy looking guy walking into frame on the right, clearly unimpressed by me holding a camera on a mini tripod with a wired shutter release cable poking out of the side of the USB-C port. This shot's got instant layering. There's 3 distinct subjects across the frame, in the foreground, the middle ground, and the background, creating depth. There's a definite triangle composition. The worker, the seated man, and the guy in black naturally connect. The subject on the right adds extra humour. His unimpressed expression makes the shot a little bit funny, adding to the already comical scene of the guy squeezed between the brush and the worker. I think this composition would have worked well, or perhaps even better, if he hadn't been looking at the camera, but it certainly adds a unique storytelling element to this image. And finally, there's subtle colour matching. This shoe logo mirrors the cart handles, adding a small but satisfying detail. Another reason this image works, as I said, is because of its natural triangular structure. The 3 men form a visual triangle, which creates natural tension that makes the composition feel more energetic. The angles in the scene guide the viewer's eye throughout the frame, adding movement and structure to an otherwise static moment. So next time you're out shooting, challenge yourself to spot triangles in the scenes around you, whether it's 3 people positioned in a way that forms a natural connection, or objects aligning in a geometric fashion. Start training your eye to recognize these patterns. The more you look for them, the more instinctively you'll begin to use them to strengthen your compositions. So have you ever noticed triangles in your street photography? And if not, will you start looking for them now? I'd love to know, and I'm sure the community would too, so please let us know down below. And if you want to learn more about capturing storytelling moments on the streets, then check out this video here. Until we meet again, go forth and create.